The base of SunSpot is definitely a creative base, and so we deal with fine art. You know, there's actually development right now into making certain parts of the mansion a gallery, right? Because, you know, ironically right now, black fine art or fine art by brothers and sisters of African descent is actually the hottest sector of the art market right now. I mean, you know, stuff is like going at auction for $10 million. You know, Basquiat piece recently sold for over $100 million. It's crazy. So, you know, it's hard for me to talk about SunSpot without talking about Brooklyn as its own cultural incubator. I mean, if you're here, there is no other place in the world. There's no other place in Africa, in South America, and in Europe where you have as many people of African descent from so many different places. You can find an Afro-Brazilian in Brooklyn. You can find cats from the Caribbean in Brooklyn. You can find Afro-Latinos in Brooklyn. You can find cats from West Africa, cats from South Africa, cats who are Afro-European. And, you know, there's probably almost 1 million of us here in this borough. So when you talk about that as it's developed over the decades, it's been like this amazing like cauldron of black creativity that has some of the best people who are doing their thing globally actually were bubbling in Brooklyn in the 90s and the early 2000s. I mean, you know, it's funny. I was talking to a friend the other day about hanging out 20 years ago with Mos Def, right? 20 something years ago. And so he's a poet, I'm a poet, right? So we're hanging out in this like room no bigger than this. And this is after we did something at the Brooklyn Moon. It was a fly event. So we're hanging out at somebody's house. And Mos Def is like, or Yasin Bey is like, yeah, you know, I'm about to be on these dudes' album, De La Soul. They about to put me on their album. It's gonna be amazing. And we're like, oh, you're gonna do your nice little hip hop thing. That's cute. Go ahead with your nice little music career. And then the next thing you know, Black on Both Sides comes out. No, even before Black on Both Sides, it was Black Star. But even before Black Star, at the same time of Black Star, because I was living in London at the time, the Ultramagnetic. It was a single that came out. And when that single came out, it was like, yo, what is this? Oh my God. And then Black Star came out, and then, yeah, so, I mean, Yasin Bey is really just one example, but I could talk about Dream Hampton used to live in Clinton Hill. I could talk about Asha Mandeli. I can talk about France De Sous. I can talk about Alice Smith, who used to live right around the corner. I mean, it really goes on and on and on. I could talk about Yasra, who moved to Brooklyn from DC. It's like, there's something here that's just, you can't find it anyplace else. So, I think the only place, and I was talking about this before we started shooting, the only place that matches this intensity right now for me is Johannesburg. And anybody who hasn't been to Johannesburg, who's trying to catch that magic that used to happen back in the day in New York City, you need to go to Johannesburg immediately. But yeah.
The dawn is nice, He said he's getting that crack out. The dawn is nice,
So, two things I would like to touch on just succinctly. That just our right, Black people's right to be in a space that we create for ourselves is elusive, has been elusive in America. It's actually been elusive on the planet when you travel the planet. And one of the things that we want to calibrate this space with is truly a feeling of home. That when someone comes through the course of the threshold, they actually feel like not only are they at home, but they also start to think about how can they recreate that feeling for themselves wherever they go, right? So it doesn't have to be a 6,000 square foot mansion. It could be a 300 square foot studio apartment. But the right of ownership, and first of all, ownership of your spirit, is super important, and a lot of us have not actually possessed that. But also beyond that, ownership of your own space, you know, I mean, we're sitting in a room that's painted blue, right? It's painted royal blue, right? And, you know, if I was renting this house, I wouldn't have been able to paint the walls blue. And that small act for me is an act of this is my space, and how, you know, we have to control our space. And as you're doing here with TrulyBrooklyn, we also have to control the stories. Okay, you got to control the space and control the stories. And you know, we welcome people that when you hear the SunSpot signal go out in the air to come through, because it's not like anything you'll ever see.
Dawn is nice, it's nice.